I want to bring in Clark Brewster, attorney for Stormy Daniels. Clark, thanks for joining us on this. Appreciate it. I'm sure you've been quite busy, to say the least, over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We have all been.
My pleasure. Sure.
You've spoken to Stormy. How's she doing?
Stormy's doing better. When the verdict broke on Thursday, we talked. I was the first to speak with her. And, you know, it was just a culmination of so many things and so many feelings. She got quite emotional about it. And we had to talk about what led us there and how she testified in the courtroom. But obviously, the verdict, the 34 guilties, notwithstanding the fact that we may have expected it to happen, the reality of it was a bit of a jolt for her. But she's doing well. She's dealing with it. I mean, she's got inundated with press requests. She chose not to do any interviews. She is wanting this some quiet time and the dust to settle before she makes any statement.
How did she find out?
I called her. So when the verdict was announced that they had a verdict, I got a call. We had people in the courtroom there, and then when the verdict was read off, I spoke with her.
And what was her immediate reaction when you told her?
Like I said, I think it came rushing forward. The culmination of so many things here over the years in what she's been through, and also the pressure of testifying for 2 days in a courtroom, and the reality that we're dealing with a historical circumstance here. Yeah. I mean, this has never happened. So just a lot of things. I've represented Stormy now since 19, so more than 5 years, and I've seen her in a lot of different settings. And she's incredibly bright and she's resilient, but she was rocked by this a bit. Is
she receiving threats right now? Is she worried about her safety?
Yeah. You know, she took the position really at the request of the prosecution months ago not to do any interviews because they didn't want to impact in any way the trial, so she chose not to. And she thought while the jury was deliberating the same thing, she wanted it to be, an occasion that was solemn and according to their oath, and didn't want to say something that might impact anyone. And now that the verdict's out, she wants to carry that out a bit more. She wants to just let the dust settle and stay out of the limelight.
Lisa Rubin, as you just heard, saying that Stormy wore a bulletproof vest inside that courtroom. When we all saw Stormy walk into that courtroom, it was not the Stormy Daniels that we all knew publicly. And I imagine part of it was because of the anxiety that she was feeling in taking the stand for the first time in such a public trial, such a history-making trial. What was behind the choice to wear that bulletproof vest?
Well, I can tell you right now, as we got close to the date that she was to come to New York, she just became paralyzed with fear, not of testifying or not the anxiety that we would normally expect a witness that's going to get on the stand, but the fear of being hurt or harmed or some lone wolf person doing something crazy. And we worked with her personal security. She has a personal security team, and we also talked extensively with the district attorney's office and what they could provide for security. And her security team said that she can't leave the hotel without bulletproof vests, and she felt more comfortable with that. Once she got to the courtroom, not to impact anybody, she took it off. We never said anything about it until after her testimony, but I will say that the district attorney's office was outstanding in the security of the courthouse and the way they arranged to transport her and get her there without her being in abject fear, frankly.
I want to talk a little bit, if I can, Clark, about her testimony. I was there inside the courtroom for both days of her testimony, and her demeanor was different, especially during cross from Susan Necheles, than it was on direct from the prosecution, from Hoffinger. She did seem more scattered during direct. In cross, she seemed more settled, more confident. I'm wondering what happened on that day off between Tuesday and Thursday, the conversations that were had that you could disclose between the two of you to prepare her for cross-examination.
Well, so first of all, direct examination is always quite different. I mean, you have a friendly person up there. They're asking questions that you're going to be expected because you've talked to them as a general rule. And it's a much more it's not as natural as it would be on cross because you're responding to leading questions and insinuating questions. So I knew Storm would shine on the cross. With regard to the direct, you're just trying to understand what is being sought. And also, you don't want to do something that the court has previously ruled you shouldn't do with some topic or another. And so she was very careful about that, and she was guarded on direct. Once the cross came, I knew it was her day. I want to say something just by virtue of what's going on in the press now about this is a fascist country or this is a rigged trial. I met this prosecution team a year ago. After the indictment was returned, Storm did not testify in the grand jury. The grand jurors themselves made the decision with the evidence. But working with this prosecution team, they are the most diligent, careful thinkers, ethical. They never went outside of any bounds. With the curtains back, I saw that. And this was a team that you couldn't have better public servants, frankly. Susan Hoffinger and Joshua Steinglass and Becky Mangold were outstanding in their dedication to making sure they were just putting on the truth. So the idea that they were some part of some conspiracy is nonsense. And that these 12 people that spent all that time in that courtroom, weeks listening to the evidence, and then, according to their oath, returned a verdict. It is a true and honest verdict based upon the facts and evidence. And I witnessed a couple days of that flow in that courtroom. And anyone that I saw the Speaker of the House guaranteeing a reversal. He has no idea what he's talking about. He wasn't present. He doesn't know the evidence. He doesn't know the instructions. So it's offensive to anyone that was involved in that trial to hear that kind of garbage.
What was it like for Stormy to testify to that night back in 2006 when Donald Trump and Stormy Daniels had sex? I mean, there was a lot of salacious details. I don't care what you do for a living. That must have been a difficult moment for her to put that on display in the courtroom.
Yeah, it was. And obviously, she's told the story before, but there were some things that really corroborated every aspect of it. But, she's made this very clear. I'm not a victim. People that have been raped are victims or assaulted are victims. I was not a victim. I didn't say no. I didn't say anything, but I'm not a victim. And she's made that very clear. And I think that goes to her credibility as well.
Does she think Donald Trump got what he deserved?
I don't think obviously he's not sentenced yet, but I do believe that as we know the facts from the perspective that she testified to and the law, and I've read the statutory law in New York. It was passed by the legislature, signed by the governor years ago, and the facts establish those elements. We'll see what the sentence is going to be, but she thinks the truth shined through that trial.
And what about sentencing? What does she want to see when it comes to Donald Trump's sentencing?
She's not a legal expert, but I think that she would feel that the judge, the people, the prosecutors in this instance will have their voice. Mr. Trump will have his voice in his allocution. And she would think that the system will work as intended, just like it did thus far.
Does she want him to go to jail?
She said that before, but it was under kind of a heated circumstance where he was relentless and insulting and demeaning her. It's shameful, frankly. But so in responding to that, she's made those statements on social media. But in her true heart of hearts, as we're sitting there, maybe at sentencing, if she chooses to attend, she may have a different feeling about that. She's going to put it in the hands of the system and hope it'll work as intended.
Is she considering attending his sentencing on July 11th?
I didn't actually ask her about that, but I know this. If the prosecution asked her, she has great respect for them. I think that she's likely to honor that request. But if they don't, then she probably won't.
Clark Brewster, sir, we thank you for spending some time with us today. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.